Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another film review. And today's film review is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. So, what's Dream Warriors about, you may be asking? Well, Dream Warriors is about a young girl who essentially gets taken to a psycho ward because they believe that she has tried to commit suicide after finding cuts on her wrist. However, it turns out this is all because of a nightmare that she had where Freddy pretty much attacks her in her own home. Once she arrives at the asylum, though, however, she finds out that she's not the only one who's been taken there because of Freddy. It turns out that there's 3 or 4 other people, and on her first night at the asylum, Freddy tries to possess and take over one of the young lads, takes him up to the clock tower, and pretty much throws him off. The main doctor of the institute for the asylum pretty much keeps having visions, though, of a woman in a nun outfit and pretty much starts to ask her questions about what he must do. And she says that he must banish the demon so that he can no longer walk the earth and terrorize people. Conveniently, however, to add on to this constant rush of adrenaline of a situation, turns out that Nancy from the very first film has turned up and is ready to help the kids battle once and for all Freddy, lock him away so that they may live. But to do this, however, she must pretty much rely on the help of her own father, who burned Freddy back in the day, to find out exactly where his body is and bury him once and for all. But it turns out no one in the asylum believes Nancy, and even when she does eventually go to her father, she finds it a strain just to try and get him to help them. Nancy and the doctor are then kicked out of the asylum after the asylum believes that they are pretty much making things worse. They believe that they're playing on the kids' insecurities and pushing them towards madness. However, the truth is that Freddy has been getting at the kids no matter where they are, as they are the final elements of his master plan to kill off all of the Elm Street children. However, it also turns out that one of the characters in the asylum, the girl who we find out in the beginning, she has magical powers to pretty much bring people into her dreams. So Nancy tries to play on this and pretty much tell her to bring all of her fellow inmates to pretty much go into her dream so that they can all battle against Freddy once and for all, because Freddy can't kill them whilst they're together, but he will try and separate them so that he can pot them off one by one. When Freddy realizes exactly what's happened, he starts to become even more angry, and it starts to play on him more and more and more. The doctor and Nancy's father eventually manage to locate Freddy's body. However, Freddy begins to fight back after being buried in the grave. Nancy's father eventually manages to bury his body, but not without sadly dying in the process. Nancy and her father are both killed off by Freddy, and the Dream Team seem to be getting cut down one by one, but eventually manage to banish Freddy once and for all. The Doctor, who survives all of these tragic events, however, starts to realise that the nun/sister that he's been talking to, who he believed to be a woman of the church down the road, turns out to be the late mother of Freddy Krueger. And it turns out that Freddy's mother has been trying to do everything she can in her power to stop Freddy once and for all. So, what did I think of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors? It's way more stronger, I personally believe, than Freddy's Revenge. It has that great aspect where it goes back to the original and plays on a little bit of backstory and starts to give us subtle hints to Freddy's life before he died, and also starts to give us subtle hints of his origin story. fact that we start to learn exactly how Freddy came to be born, and we finally start to learn why his mother is such a significant part in his downfall, is what I find so brilliant. I also love the aspect and concept of all of these kids going into each other's dreams and helping fight Freddy. It kind of subtly reminds me of our modern series of Stranger Things, and really gives me an idea of where people like the Duffer Brothers may have got like these ideas to have people banding together in a world full of nightmares. So what do I give it out of 10? Honestly, as I said, it's much better than Freddy's Revenge, has much more clarity. It kills off Nancy, which I do find a big tragedy, but at the same time, in the chronology of this series, I can see why it's been done. And it's a very solid start to what becomes a great arc for Freddy's character going forward. And for that reason, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next film review.